The golden hues of autumn wrapped the world in a warm, nostalgic embrace, as if time itself had slowed to a gentle breath. Beneath a canopy of crimson, amber, and ochre leaves, two figures stood in quiet contrast against the brilliance of the fall landscape. On the left, a man clad in a tailored navy blue suit stood tall and motionless, his face a study in composure and restraint. His dark hair, slicked back with precision, caught the sunlight like polished obsidian, while his deep-set eyes, shadowed with a history he never dared to speak aloud, stared forward with an intensity that belied the stillness of his posture. He looked like someone who had weathered countless storms, each one etched subtly into the lines on his forehead and the hard set of his jaw. There was something timeless about his presence, something that whispered of honor, of duty, and of heartbreak buried deep beneath the surface of his stoic demeanor. To his right, a woman stood wrapped in a thick knitted turtleneck sweater of soft beige, the wool coiling protectively around her neck like a gentle shield against the chill of the season. Her long hair was swept back into a loose, elegant knot, tendrils escaping to frame her face in golden strands that shimmered against the sunlight filtering through the trees. Her features were delicate yet strong, high cheekbones, a softly defined jaw, and eyes so luminous they seemed to hold all the light of the autumn sky within them. She looked ahead not with tension or anxiety, but with calm resolve and quiet thoughtfulness. Her hands were tucked into the long sleeves of her sweater, and though her posture was relaxed, there was an unmistakable sense of gravity in her presence, as though she, too, carried stories she had never shared, stories that weighed more than words could bear. Between them, space hung heavy, not with awkwardness, but with meaning. It was as if the air itself knew the depth of the silence, the importance of the moment, the history lingering like fog on the edges of memory. The leaves above rustled gently with the breeze, cascading down around them in slow motion, each one spinning like a whisper from the past. The shallow depth of field rendered the background a dreamy blur, drawing every detail of their expressions into sharp, almost tangible focus. Behind them, blurred outlines of trees painted in fire-toned leaves stretched toward the heavens, their trunks casting long, painterly shadows across the golden grass. The light was warm, like liquid honey, casting a soft glow across their skin and clothes, highlighting the textures, the fine wool of his suit, the intricate weave of her sweater, the glossy sheen of a tear that might or might not fall. Though they stood apart, an invisible thread seemed to bind them, a shared moment of realization, recognition, or perhaps even revelation. The man's gaze, unwavering and intense, seemed to look not just at her but through her, as if seeing someone else in her place, someone long gone. She returned his gaze with softness, not pity, but empathy, a quiet understanding that needed no explanation. The expression on her face carried the serenity of someone who had made peace with things she could not change, but not without a cost. It was as if she knew the weight of being seen not for who she was, but for who someone else once was. And yet she stood there, unflinching, dignified, and strong in her own right. The moment between them was cinematic in every sense, a silent dialogue unfolding between eyes, breath, and unspoken truths. Nature around them became the perfect frame, not merely a setting, but a character in itself. The autumn light danced through the trees with deliberate softness, casting gentle dapples of gold on the path that led away into the forest behind them. There were no sharp contrasts, only smooth transitions of color, of emotion, of shadow. Into light, the crispness in the air was almost visible, lending a tangible sharpness to the scene that made every color richer, every line more defined. In the far distance, the faint blur of a bench, a winding path, and fallen leaves whispered of walks taken, words spoken, and memories made when the season was younger, brighter, and less burdened by the weight of time. His shoes, polished too, a mirror-like shine, were planted firmly on the earth, as though he had arrived with a purpose that wouldn't allow him to leave until something was resolved. Her boots were more modest, sturdy and worn, suggesting a person who wandered often, not aimlessly, but with a quiet curiosity and confidence. Their clothes, expressions and postures contrasted, yet complemented each other like two pieces of a long-forgotten story coming back together. It was in the minute details, the furrow of his brow, the soft press of her lips, the way her eyes reflected the light, that the full spectrum of emotion revealed itself. Love, loss, memory, and identity, all tangled together in this frozen moment that felt eternal. What made the image truly cinematic was not just the composition, nor the impeccable lighting or the depth of color. It was the story that seemed to pulse through it, alive and unsaid. You could look at them and feel the weight of their silence, the richness of the life behind their eyes. Perhaps he had known someone who looked like her, perhaps a sister, a wife, a first love, someone who had once stood in that same spot with autumn leaves in her hair and laughter in her voice. And now, seeing this woman, so strikingly similar, yet entirely her own person, was like witnessing a ghost dressed in new skin. Perhaps she had been told she looked like someone he had loved, and had come not to imitate, but to understand, to step into the story for just a moment and see what it held. There was no need for words, for the image itself spoke volumes. It whispered of past lives and present echoes, of stories suspended in golden light. It invited the viewer to pause, to feel, to imagine, and to remember their own moments of uncanny resemblance or emotional déjà vu. It was the kind of scene that lingered in your memory long after your eyes had turned away, haunting and beautiful, in equal measure, and still they stood, two souls suspended between what was and what could be, beneath the amber sky of a fading day. The man hardened by time, perhaps grieving, yet standing as if anchored by something deeper than sorrow. The woman, youthful but wise, her eyes open to the weight of what it meant to be seen as someone else, yet choosing to stand tall and offer herself as she was. There was no drama in their pose, only truth. And in that truth, beauty bloomed, raw, resonant, and unforgettable.